The This movie has too many plots. There's too many plots in this movie. This movie's an hour and 46 minutes and it has 4 or 5 plots. And they needed to do one of two things. They needed to cut at least one of the subplots or they needed to make the movie longer. I'm glad they didn't make the movie longer, but it does make all of the plots feel kind of slight because you keep switching back and forth between what's going on. And it's kind of disappointing because I was really into the the A plot of him like getting into the music and stuff like that. And I was pretty into the B plot of him and his kind of shitty friends or coworkers or whatever. Like I
Mhm.
thought
Real
those
estate
were
agents.
yeah. And like you can kind of weave the relationship between him and the guy's wife into that, but not really. That really feels like a separate level in the movie. And then you've got his dad. And it's like I think you could have cut most of his dad out of the movie and it really wouldn't change very much.
Well, it would
You have the
change
first
the
scene
ending a
where he
lot.
runs you have the
Mhm.
first scene where he runs down his girlfriend, and then you have the scene where he dies, and maybe have some dialogue in the middle that's like, "My dad made me
But
collect for this guy."
I think his relationship with his buddies and sort of the the shady real estate stuff that they do, I think the what explains that sort of stems from his dad's way of life and his dad's
Yeah,
business and
but
like
I
the
don't.
way he kind of cleans up for his dad.
You're you're
So,
you're right, but I don't feel like that's a necessary plot element. Like, I don't think I would lose anything about my understanding of this character.
but
He's
Chris
a
is
shit.
right. The end scene though would be ruined if you didn't have how the father ended up, unfortunately.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you have the introduction scene where he runs down his girlfriend, which kind of shows what kind of a dickhead he is.
Hmm.
And you have the dad asking him to collect the money, and then you have the end scene where or the near the end scene where he finds him dead. Like I don't think you need the
Which that was one of
other.
those best find someone dead scenes I've ever seen.
That's
Both of
true.
these
The way
movies
it
have
was
very
filmed.
good. Both of these
Yeah,
movies
they
have very
both
good
have
find
good.
someone dead scenes.
Although, I'm
That's
gonna
true.
And
Both of them do.
and then
go.
I wanted two more really quick things.
No, by all means, take
One,
it.
if you recall when we did Disorder, I loved the music in that movie, and everyone here hated the music in that movie except
Mhm.
me.
Not me. I love the music in that movie. I picked that movie.
I fucking hated the music in this movie.
Wow.
Like this fucking early 2000s Euro trash.
Oh, that you
Um,
mean the stuff he listened to? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Not
it's
I
just
don't
not the
think I,
classical stuff.
it didn't
no, no,
run,
no, no,
it
no.
did not register on me at all.
No, the incidental music was that was it the what's it called?
It was just kind of like early
The
techno.
diegetic music was really junky sounding in this film.
Yeah,
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 it's just
and then
early generic techno.
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the other quick thing is I didn't know that there were this many white collar guys getting into fucking bar fights in Paris.
Hey,
Like there's so many bar fights between just like shitty drunk white collar
hey,
dudes.
no
I
guns,
think it's
man.
everywhere. It just
Get
depends on the company you keep.
into a bar fight in Europe. There's no guns. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
But I was going to say, actually, going to take the opposite tack on this, especially compared to the next film, that I don't think there's a lot of plot lines. It is about one guy in the middle of this film who's torn between two worlds, and there are people populating both worlds.
But
There's
he's torn between 4 worlds.
well, that's your again, that's your interpretation. My interpretation is that
I think
the
it's
dad's part of the criminal background, and like the woman, the piano teacher, and the piano kind of thing is part of the different world, and him just being pulled apart by both these things. I thought it had a fairly linear sort of story structure because it's him jerking back and forth and trying to like make everybody happy. And I thought it actually worked really well. I think that the guy is an amazing actor, and probably could play piano too. But
His sister's a professional pianist, and she taught him how to play for this movie.
Oh,
wow.
that's
And like I said, it's just I think that it was fairly stark. I thought it was like there are people that show up who want him to be a criminal, and there's people who show up wanted to be, there are not enough people who want him to be a
a much
musician.
smaller group in the latter.
Yeah, exactly.
This scene, the scene behind Chris,
Mhm.
where she keeps correcting his posture and like
Mhm.
raising his hand up and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
thought that was a really incredible scene between the two of them because neither of them can speak each other's language, and she does such a great job of communicating to him what he's doing wrong, and he does an absolutely piss poor job of communicating to her what the problem is.
Oh, those things
Like,
made my skin
like
crawl.
Very one way, I'll give you that.
it's not like
Well,
they're not
he's
having a moment. She's just pushing down on him, and he's like,
because
Well,
he's like
it's
got all that. He's got this. He's
Chinese
got such
pedagogy.
right,
suppressed rage in that guy
Mhm.
Yes.
that he's also just a horrible interpersonal communicator, right? I mean, he
Right.
just doesn't know how to,
Horrible.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but what you have here is, obviously this really flawed, in some ways pretty awful person. But I think that one thing I
he's
love
a
about this movie
slumlord.
is, yeah, but one thing I love about this movie
Not
is
a
that
good
he's
guy.
got a real heart underneath all that shit. You just have to like
Way
really dig
buried.
and dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, and then there it is. And there's something about him that is so honest and raw that also attracted me to him.
Yeah.
well, and
I-
he's exceptionally sad.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the character.
I
is
really thought about his
so-
mother a lot.
Thought about his mother a lot, and then the scene where he's talking to his buddy's wife, when he's like, "No, you love me too. Like I love you, and you love me too." And she's like, "No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't." And eventually, he's like, "No. When we get together, we talk like we're school kids. Like we get tongue tied. We're like, elementary school children." Like I thought that scene was really good because that's the first time you really see him open up as a person. And she completely buys into it. Like she goes straight in there and is like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
Hmm.
Like maybe her feelings aren't on the same level as his, but she does absolutely buy into the shit he's selling in that scene.
I had a. I didn't know where I was on this movie the whole time. I vaguely remember the original. I saw it on cable with my mom.
Yeah,
I was
fingers.
probably 14, and I remember both of us kind of hating it because I think, and it's been forever. I don't know. Did you watch it recently, Scott?
No, I got it, but I didn't actually watch
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I just remember like Harvey Keitel's character in that was a real piece of shit through most of it. Probably a lot like this guy.
Mhm.
And I remember very little else. But I feel like this movie sort of stuck the landing, which kind of like at the margin, I will give this movie a thumbs up. But I found him real tough to like. I hated the way he talked to the piano teacher. I did not 100% buy that the other guy's girlfriend would just like that jump into bed. Like there were a lot of things in this movie that sort of strained credulity for me. It was
That's
good.
why I wish there was less plot. I
Yeah.
wish
There's a
there was
lot of-
less
there's a
plot
lot of
so you
shit
could
going on in
have
this
more of those. You could have those scenes breathe a little bit more. You could have more of that them being tongue tied. You could have more of her and him kind of like getting, because I don't buy them getting together at the end. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing that I really don't buy is like,
No.
why the fuck
Hey,
does she
you know
want to
what?
be with
After
him?
But they gave it 4 years, so that's one thing that kind of like papered over that entire
Yeah, but
thing.
show me something.
No,
Like,
well, I'll give you that.
Her almost every
I,
fucking scene.
I buy that more than I buy him getting with that dude's wife, and obviously that dissolves pretty quickly and pretty simply.
Mhm.
Falling into a
there's-
restroom.
Well, the thing about these two that are behind Chris is that there's so much going on. The more he takes lessons that is unspoken, that is just mannerisms, that is just looks, that is just
Yeah.
body language.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think these two were attracted to each other immediately, like in a weird unspoken way, in
And
a
maybe because
very
they
weird,
couldn't
like,
communicate, that was actually they had to kind of-
right.
yeah, she can't hear what a piece of shit he is.
yeah, and but
Yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, I don't think,
He's kind of a monster.
yeah,
He's
he's
a fucking
been,
monster.
he covers it up well during the piano lesson.
Well, he's like Tony Soprano. He's just like,
No, he's like one of the
Okay.
guys that works for Tony Soprano.
yeah. I
wants to
mean,
do something
but
else.
It's the same
Yeah.
sort of thing where
Yeah. Now
You're
this,
No,
supposed to
he beats the
identify with him.
ever loving fuck out of Tony Soprano and almost shoots him.
yeah.
yeah.
Now, mind you, this is I'm going to take up what Tad said. This is really interesting. You're talking about how sad he is as a character through most of the film, and he is. His heart's very heavy because and it reminded me of, if anything, of the film Unbreakable, where the main character is David Dunn is unhappy because he's not doing what he needs to be doing in the world.
Right.
So it's almost the same impulse, right? It's like he's unhappy because he's not being a pianist. So this being a French film, as we're coming to the big denouement where he goes and does his rehearsal, guess what happens?
Shits the bed.
He shits the bed. He fucks up entirely
Yep.
and runs
Yep.
out of the room, which was I thought was kind of wild. I mean,
I wouldn't have wanted it any other way, to be honest.
Mhm.
Because
the American version would have had him
triumphantly
be
da.
perfect, and
again, you know, like I don't play piano, but I think I know a lot about music, and like there was a part of me that's like, you're never gonna like the level of commitment that is required to perform at the level you're trying to perform, and you're playing catch up. Like I never thought he was going to get over that hump. So when he shits the bed, I'm like, of course he fucking shit the bed.
well, and not in that amount of time. Like,
Nah,
obviously, he showed promise as a young boy,
right.
and that's why the guy was like, "I hope you kept up." Because, but the thing is he didn't keep up, and then he tried to fit it in a very short period of time, which is so unrealistic. And that's why it's very realistic that he shits the bed. But
It reminded me of the time when I hadn't skateboarded for 20 something years, and then I got a skateboard and was in the hospital 4 days later.
I'm surprised it wasn't 4 hours later.
No, it took 4 days, but
4
it's
minutes.
Like, yeah, like that's
Well, I have three theories about why he shat the bed in the rehearsal. One is that he simply wasn't good enough. He simply had his innate ability, which it was not shown in the film. We all thought he's getting pretty good. He's going fast, you know, can play well.
That's a really high bar.
Either that there's a lack of innate ability, or he got the yips, which is definitely one of those things can happen. You go up and you get nervous.
Yeah,
or,
but if you get the yips, you don't have it.
yeah, I know, but that's true. That's true. And the third thing is, it's just he simply didn't get enough sleep that night.
Well, I think there's a fourth.
That
he
one
was too
stupid
busy
thing.
beating
It's like,
people
remember
up.
those
I think there's a
commercials that-
fourth thing. I think there's a fourth thing though, which is, first of all, I think number one is probably it. I mean,
Yeah.
in the movie, it does show him get to a place that is pretty good, like pretty close. You know, she looks at him and says, or you know, she not like
Right. She gives
you,
him,
and you can kind of hear the way. I mean, remember they have that one scene where she's playing and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then he goes and
When you
it's-
hear her playing when he's walking up to the door the first time they meet, too.
right.
and like but he, you know, the last time you see him at her house, he's playing, you know, close-ish to her. I mean, not on her level, but he's really come to a lot of progress in that short amount of time, like an incredible amount where she finally said, not bad, or that's pretty good, or something like that. But I think there's a fourth thing, Scott. I mean, number one could be definitely he's just not up to snuff.
Yeah.
But number two is it's what I have done so many times. It's probably what we all do in certain scenarios or situations. I mean, you get to a place where you're scared and you fucking self-sabotage yourself from the inside. You don't believe in yourself.
Wow.
Right.
That's getting the yips.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Red light
Yips
fever
is like
what I call it.
psychological. It's like
it's more than that, right? It's like,
Psychological. That's exactly.
yeah.
I know, but you know what I mean. It's like it's subconscious.
But it's like,
conscious.
but behind it is you telling yourself that you're not worthy of this place.
Right.
That you're not.
That's probably what the yips
when a
is.
baseball pitcher starts tipping his pitches, they don't work on him on his mechanics. They pull him aside and they fucking send him to a shrink. And they say, you need to work through whatever's going through your brain when you're throwing this pitch, because it's not your form. It's that you're doing something that's telling the batter what you're about to do.
You're holding
that's
back
in your
some
brain.
way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's the third thing. It kind of reminded me of that commercial. Remember, like these people doing superhuman things at the work next day, and says, "How you be able to do that?" It says, "Oh, I spent the night at the Sheraton." You know, a good
Holiday Inn
night's sleep-
Express.
Yeah, Holiday Inn Express. Thank you.
It's a La Quinta
But
Inn.
a good night's sleep makes all the
In
difference.
Waya Waya, Washington.
In Washington. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
It was weird
I
'cause
think
they made a
it's
point of they pulled him out of his routine and made him do all sorts of crazy shit. And he's obviously distracted and tired and getting worse and worse before this happens. I thought it was
Well,
very
he's fucking up left and right leading up to that. Like
true enough.
Like he fucked up his relationship with his buddy's wife.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He keeps fucking up, like not going to do the shit he's supposed to do.
Mhm.
Like, and he was already on that path, because one of the scenes with his dad, it's like, did you do this shit? No.
Oh.
Are you gonna do this shit? Yeah. He's right there.
yeah, he's
Right.
right
Like,
here right now.
His dad even knows, like, you're kind of a fuck up.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
so he has a kid.
But again, I think that's the thing that Chris was saying. Like, the way he's torn between the worlds sort of inevitably leads to these fuck ups because he's neither like he can't go gung ho toward either one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that it's hard. I don't know that his heart is in either. Right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think he's a confused, sad. His heart may not be in either, but
I still had a hard time rooting.
I think ideally he wants to do the pianist life, right? I mean, that's sort of in his brain,
Right, yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
he wants
or he's
to.
telling himself this is the more noble of the two choices.
Well,
It
it's
is the more
less
noble of the
shitty
two
of
choices.
two.
Being a pianist is way better than being a fucking slumlord.
Right.
Like,
who's part time as a fucking basically a
Right.
a
And I got
arm,
the
strong
feeling
arm.
that they were
It's interesting,
scaring
the
those people
collector.
off because they wanted to get the property. They
Yeah.
had to get
Yeah.
the people out of there.
I guess it's a common thing at that time there to do bust outs. But they also the coda of the film where he finds that Russian and beats the living shit out of him, but
Yeah.
doesn't kill him. Was kind of like that weird. The French films lately have this kind of O. Henry thing. Like remember the end of Fat Girl, and this is kind of like that, except it was a denouement for the guy because he was actually told to like take care of him. He didn't, and this
Well,
time
and
he
I've
did.
never. Someone mentioned how good he is, this actor,
Yeah,
and I not only do I agree, but if you remember when he sees that guy from across the street, and of course
Yes.
he goes into the building.
right.
When he's in the building and he's standing next to the guy, and they get out of like the elevator or something.
Just
They're
keeps
going to get
There's
into the
a
elevator.
thing he does with his face where I'm like, this is some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life. Where he says, like,
Wow.
is your
he
name?
does it twice.
Yeah, it's
Because
like
he's doing it, and the guy turns and looks at him, and he's like, "Do I know you?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, you don't." And then he goes back
Then
to
he goes-
washing his hands, and he does it again with his face.
But it's like
and
this-
that's when he says, "Are you
Are you
Minkov?" And
blah,
he
blah,
says,
blah,
"Yes,
yeah.
you do."
Minsky.
Fucking nails him.
Yeah.
but it's
Nuts.
like it's like this actor does something
I
where I'm
knew
like,
he was going to hit him with the briefcase too. I was
Well, you
like,
can
he's gonna
see-
fucking
you-
hit him with the briefcase.
you can see everything in his face. You can see the whole
It
like
was Chekhov's
you killed my
briefcase.
dad. My life is fucked up. I didn't make it with the piano. Like
Right.
you see everything in his face, and he just goes, and now I'm taking it on. I'm taking it out on you right now, man.
Yep.
And I was just, oh god, it gave me chills.
Yeah.
That-
Also
when he-
part
But
of
he
it's
couldn't
like
go through with it because his heart's not in being a violent criminal.
Exactly. See,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
is a
up to-
little
but-
bit of redemption where he's like, I'm not that person. To be
Well,
honest,
if he
That-
does-
Only
and if he
90%
does-
a
the thing
shitty
is-
person.
at the end he had control. He could have killed him or could have not killed him. One of the
Right.
things that I got from that very ending was like his kind of expression on his face, like, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this.
Well, and
You
also,
know,
if I shoot this guy, it's over.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
You're crossing a line.
Yeah,
Right.
but the thing
It's
is that
like I am this guy forever. Even if I don't get caught, I'm
Yeah.
this guy forever.
he's acknowledging that
Because I have to go back. I have to go back to that concert hall, and I have to sit there, and I have to look at her.
Look at my
knowing that
girlfriend.
I did this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
And
girlfriend,
then now I just have to
my
look at her
client,
covered in blood.
because he's her manager. You know, like it's,
Yeah, and I like that little addition too, where he realized, like, he's gonna
he
be
he
her
becomes
assistant.
Mr. Fox.
Yeah,
Like, he
like,
becomes
he's
the
gonna-
guy who's behind the scenes
Yeah,
working for this
that's
prodigy.
the part about sticking the landing that, like, whether or not you buy whether they ended up with each other romantically, I like the idea that he kind of found a thing he could do while being still in that world, but not
Mhm.
performing.
Also,
Right.
And being a music
Right.
manager is being a shitty person
and
professionally.
realizing
Also,
though
nice-
that she's
nice-
such a talent, and
Yeah.
he's going to be on her, a cheerleader for her, right?
Right.
Someone who
it's a good fake out there
That's the
too.
part
He's
I
up
like
on
about
stage,
this
he's up
movie
on
the best.
stage playing, and they're like, "Oh my god, he made it!" It's like, nope, he didn't.
Nope.
No, yeah, it's not him.
That above anything else, like that's the thing I like about this movie the best, and that's why again at the margin I will give it a thumbs up, even though I found it at
Oh, are
times
we at thumbs?
hard to get through.
Well, Jim
Jim
hasn't.
hasn't gone yet.
Jim, corner us, man.
I really liked it in spite of myself. I felt a good French movie. I think he's stuck in an existential shithole for most of it, and maybe that's what you call the yips or whatever. Yeah, I really liked the acting in this and the direction.
A French
And,
movie where someone's stuck in an existential shithole. Shocking.
Yeah, I know it is
Like
awfully
La Moustache.
stereotypical.
Uh-huh.
But anyway,
Movie
Yeah,
is 80% on Wii.
Right.
yes. But yeah, it did a good job, I think, of showing a shitty side of French life, which a lot of French movies do. It's not all glamour and croissants and
getting
gitans.
and taking LSD in the woods with your friends.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't know. They go to that he meets his dad at that cafe and he's like, "What's this rat hole?" And it's like, "This place looks great." Like
I know,
I
it
would
was
absolutely-
okay. Yeah.
I know.
Like-
I want to get I want to get an omelet there. It looks really excellent.
Right. He's got a really nice glass of wine. Like there's a
Yeah.
nice
I
view.
also
Like-
want to mention like I really like the filmmaking, just like just the I love the camera work here. I love the direction. I love to me this thing is it's pulsing with life. This movie, it's just got this rhythm to it. It's
How many movies had this person done before this? Do you know?
well, this is the same
like in
person
the
that
middle
did
of his
The
career.
Prophet, right?
a prophet. Yeah,
Which
this is
I
right.
really,
This is
really
right before a prophet.
Wait,
Oh,
this is the fucking
right.
mob boss,
So-
the Prophet.
Yeah,
This
that's the mob boss
feels-
and the prophet. That's right.
So
That's
this
the same actor.
feels like the movie right before A Prophet. Like I
It
feel
is.
like
It is.
this. Well, I'm saying like this feels like he grew from this guy to that guy.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I think you're about 50% right on that. I think there's definitely flashes of that really good filmmaking in it. There's other times where it's just like, why are you panning so much, man?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he was halfway between doing mid-doctrinaire sort of a mob story and the art that we saw in Prophet, which was just that film was epic in a lot of ways.
I love the
Yeah.
Prophet.
Yeah,
I
and-
also I read about the director, and his dad was a screenwriter going back to the 40s,
holy
Oh.
cow.
and actually directed a couple of movies too, but that I'd never heard of.
Well, and he
Right,
just did that. It's making a lot of noise. The Amelia Perez is the new one.
That's right.
So-
That's right.
Wait,
As a musical.
That guy did this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, the guy that did this did Amelia
Matthias,
Perez?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It swept the Golden Globes.
Which I
All right.
haven't seen, but it's doing very well.
All right. Show of thumbs.
Oh, I've always loved this
I'm
movie.
like right here.
I'm just barely down.
I'm
Just
on board.
barely.
Very entertained by this film. I would just turn it on, couldn't turn it off. It was so well done.
Yeah. See, I think it sucks you in. I think a little
It
bit.
did.
It is.
It
And
did suck me
again,
in,
a lot of
yes.
all those close-ups and all the handheld stuff. It was
Mhm.
done, as Jared says, it's filled with life.